What good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got the darkest games in NFL history. Let's check this out.
Football is one of the most violent and dangerous sports in the world.
There is no justifiable reason whatsoever that any child under the age of 18
I remember this
should
nigga.
continue to play these games.
A sport that can
He the one who discovered CTE, right?
and gifted athletes on earth. However,
Oh my gosh, Dante Hall's so nasty, bro.
watched live by millions.
This game's crazy.
Would become all too real, shocking the NFL world.
Okay.
Caution, the following feature has been rated X. It is not for the faint of heart. Parental discretion is advised.
I thought it was about to be
However,
9/11
if you're the type
for a
of
second.
football fan who enjoys the physical variety, have we got
Soldier
a helmet
Phil.
knocking, bone jarring tilt for you?
By all accounts, that game, a heavyweight battle between two teams, was the most vicious.
This nigga got a Hulk Hogan jersey on. I mean, not jersey, shirt
It was
on.
filled with dirty hits, catastrophic
Damn.
injuries, and even death threats.
Late in the
Nigga
game, the
smoke.
Browns were behind, but driving. This fourth down pass was first ruled complete. The refs let the game continue before reviewing it, then reversed themselves.
Oh, I remember this. Then they start throwing bottles, yo.
We're living.
That's crazy as hell. How you gonna overturn a play that already happened, gang?
The name itself, that's enough.
My boy Peter Schrager. I remember hearing a lot about this game. This is the body bag game, I believe.
DeMar Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest following
Let's
a
not
hit in
talk
the game
about
versus
this,
the
bro.
Bengals. Is that
Watching this
Hamlin's
shit
chest
live
hit
was
in the exact
heartbreaking.
spot at the exact
I'm glad he's
moment
okay, you know what I'm
during
saying?
the
Bro
punch
balled out
stopped
this
his
past
head.
season. That shit was terrifying. Most brutal football game I've ever watched. Mike Ditka. Wait, you know if it got something to do with the Bears back then, bro? Who was that nigga name on defense? He had like a mustache, had like missing teeth and shit. I keep forgetting his name.
November 4th, 1984. The reigning Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Raiders entered their Week 10 matchup with a 7-2 record against the upstart Chicago Bears. A team with just one winning season over the last 6 seasons would become the premier defense in 1984. Led by the likes of Mike Singletary, Richard Dent, and Dan Hampton. But the key to this Bears defense, and the defense that would follow in 1985, would be defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan, mastermind of the 46 defense.
The 46 defense is all about pressure. We're going to come at you, and we're going to hit your quarterback until you get another one in.
Damn.
The Raiders, a team
Low-key
known for
W
their physical
mentality,
and
bro.
sometimes dirty style of play, would get a
I ain't mean you
taste
gotta
of
play
that
dirty, nigga.
medicine.
That shit. That don't even look like a dirty hit.
Wilson was injured on
You know what I'm
the
saying? That's
field.
just like
The
a
announcers stated
typical
that the injury was
typical
with
hit,
him.
bro. Just cause you a
Wilson's
quarterback
next
don't mean
game
you getting
against
any
the
leeway,
Oakland
nigga.
Astros
You getting
pitcher.
hit hard too.
However, in
Real
an
shit.
interview with Deadspin, Wilson stated, "I smacked the back of my head on that AstroTurf," he said. "It was hard as a rock.
Damn.
For a while, I wasn't
Yeah, why
sure
don't
what
NFL
happened."
use actual
Wilson
grass, bro?
clearly suffered a concussion, and by
Fuck
the
all
game's
this
modern
AstroTurf
standards,
bullshit,
he would have been done for the
artificial
game. But
turf,
just 2
and
plays
stuff like
later,
that. Like,
Wilson
bro,
would return to the huddle.
billion-dollar
In the
company.
second quarter, Wilson's hand would connect with the defender's helmet, fracturing his thumb.
Ugh.
Once again, sending him out of the game. And backup quarterback David Hum would come into the game and would not fare much better. At one point, according to Wilson, Hum even took a shot that knocked out a couple of his teeth.
Damn. Oh, now that's a dirty hit. I ain't gonna lie.
His teeth.
Nigga landed right on his face mask, man.
Soon after returning to the huddle, Hum would receive a hit that would not only force him out of the game, but would end his career.
What? Oh,
Bears
shit.
lost starting quarterbacks, leaving only one option: punter Ray Guy. But after seeing what happened, to
Punter
the two
being a
previous
QB
Raider
is crazy.
quarterbacks,
This ain't
Guy
Madden,
wasn't
nigga.
too excited about the opportunity. According to Raider running back Marcus Allen, Guy refused to go in. Then all of them were arguing at halftime about who was going back in.
I don't blame him, bro. You the punter. Why the fuck should the punter have to go back in and play quarterback? Seeing that both of your starting quarterback, well, your starting and backup quarterback already got hurt. What you think gonna happen to the punter, nigga?
Mark Wilson,
Like,
nobody
bro.
wanted to go back in. But Wilson, before he could receive his x-rays on his fractured hand, decided to go back into the game. However, the Bears quarterback would suffer a similar fate. In the second quarter, Jim McMahon...
Oh, they going injury for injury, nigga?
And would be sandwiched between two Raiders.
Ooh, he had to have cracked a rib or two, nigga.
Seemed to be fine.
Oh, shit.
But something wasn't quite right, and McMahon began to experience discomfort that gradually became more intense. Teammates told McMahon to leave the game, but he refused. McMahon began to suspect that something was terribly wrong during halftime. McMahon had trouble breathing, concerned about him.
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it's either a cracked rib or a punctured lung. Either one of those.
And I met him in the locker room. He was blood. I mean, pure blood.
It was puking up blood.
Pain. He was in agony.
That might be a punctured lung, nigga.
Sustained in the second quarter had lacerated his kidney. But undeterred, McMahon would attempt to re-enter the game at the start of the third quarter, but would not last more than a few plays. McMahon would spend the
he gets to a point, bro. If you coughing up blood, why would you want to come back in the game?
I've had my knees, my shoulders, my ribs, and everything else blown up, but I never felt anything like that in my whole life.
Damn, if you want to defeat your opponent, you got to out hit him. I don't know why I was reading that wrong.
Nowhere on the football field was the animosity between both teams felt more than in the trenches. Throughout the course of the game, Raiders defensive end Howie Long and Bears guard Kurt Becker would have a feud. According to Long, Becker was delivering cheap shots the entire game. And Long had enough of his antics and made Becker...
They could get away with it back then.
To deliver his shot at Becker, Long missed and sprained his back.
Refs ain't give a fuck.
To Long becoming furious, stating to Becker after the play, "I'm going to get you in the parking lot after the game and beat you up in front of your family." And
whoa!
Becker, Long would attempt to follow through on this threat. Howie was out of his mind by the end of the game.
Yeah, you can tell a lot of these niggas was on that crack cocaine back then, gang.
He wouldn't get on their team bus. He was looking for me in the parking lot. The Bears would win the game 17-6. Both teams would combine for 10 total sacks, with the Chicago Bears having 9. 3 quarterbacks would be knocked out of the 10 total sacks. The Bears would win the game 17-6. Both teams would combine for 10 total sacks, with the Chicago Bears having 9. 3 quarterbacks would be knocked out.
I was about to say, I thought both defenses had 10 sacks.
Lacerating another's kidney and ending his season, making this one of the most violent games in NFL history.
It's getting ugly here in Cleveland. Fans gotta stop throwing crap. We just saw a guy get hit in the head.
Remember this game.
Split his head wide open. People are getting hurt.
Of course it's Cleveland fans. Like I understand, you know, that call was crazy though, overturning the play that already happened, but nigga throwing beer bottles and shit. I know all them niggas was drunk in the crowd.
Jaguars with a 6-6 record. This was a must-win game if they wanted any chance at making the playoffs. And for most of the game, the Jaguars looked like the far superior team, going up 9-0 at half. But the Jaguars' pick 6 would spring Cleveland back to life. Nearing the end of regulation, the game stood at 15-10, with the Browns trailing. Couch and the Cleveland offense would get the ball with just under 3 minutes left in the game. Couch had maneuvered his team into the red zone. It was now a 4th and 2, and a completion was needed to keep the drive and their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, that play is crazy.
The Browns hurried to the line to spike the ball. And
they spiked the ball and they re-looked at the play before. You can't do that, gang. Like, the play already happened.
Spiking the ball, making it intentional grounding. But the discussion's true nature would shock the announcers and the Cleveland fans. Upon review, the receiver could be clearly seen losing control of the football as he hit the turf. But the question of whether Morgan maintained possession during the catch was inconsequential, as NFL rules state that a play cannot be reviewed once another play has commenced.
Facts.
Announcers stated that there was some sort of
shitty ass refs
as replay officials tried to notify referees.
They find these refs at a damn strip club or some shit. Like,
head referee McCall told the crowd that the review signal had come before the snap on the spike play, although audio and video evidence provided by CBS seemed to refute this claim. And after intense deliberation, they came to a decision. effectively ending the game and sealing the win for the Jaguars. And bottles soon began to rain on the field, with the angered chants of Browns fans reverberating throughout the stadium. Enraged fans attempted to rush the field, being tackled to the ground by
Getting tackled is crazy.
and police officers. Announcers claimed they saw a man fall down after being hit by a radio and stated,
a fucking radio?
Wide open. Fearing for the safety of the players and themselves, the referees ended the game with 48 seconds still.
Hey, shit, they ain't had no choice but to, bro. Y'all keep throwing shit on the field. Somebody got his head split open.
Thrown by the enraged fans.
Like, hey, y'all got nobody to thank but yourselves, nigga. Y'all covering up and shit. Nobody feel bad for y'all. I feel bad for the nigga who got his head split open. But y'all caused this shit.
Thrown by the enraged fans.
Gang.
But the game wasn't over quite yet. Referee McCauley received a call from the NFL commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, stating that he had no authority to call the game and told him to get the players back on the field and finish the game. The game, now known infamously as Bottlegate, would fill the headlines.
God.
Connected to pro football. Only in this case, it wasn't the players. It was the fans in the stands.
And this is a scene you do not ever want to see. Bottles galore, other items, Walkmen thrown on the field.
My knowledge, at least, no one got hurt. I don't think that
no one got hurt. I just heard somebody got their head split open.
Pleasant, but it wasn't World War III.
I like the fact that our fans cared that much. I have to tell you, they care about their team and they cared about this game.
I guess.
Caused the NFL to improve security during games, stricter sanctions for unruly fans, as well as improved communication between officials and security personnel, which could adequately ensure an improved game environment. Stadiums across the NFL would also ban the sale of plastic beer bottles to prevent future issues. Bottlegate was also a driving factor in limiting alcohol purchases to 2 drinks per person per
bro.
visit. Along with
so it gets to a point. They gotta limit how many beers you get. Oh my gosh! Only Cleveland fans can get some shit like this to happen. Gang.
The third quarter.
Nah, bro, that's crazy.
Dead bodies in a bag.
Oh, this the body bag game.
One by one, just knocking these guys out.
It's an
true rivalry, bro. Weak them so bad they'll be carted off in body bags. Crazy. That's something crazy to say, and then it actually happens, nigga. We'll have to, y'all gonna have to search that nigga hard drive. I ain't gonna lie.
Joe Gibbs' Redskins had gotten off to a solid 5-3 start, despite an injury to quarterback Mark Ripien, and beat the Eagles in the first encounter.
Damn!
13-7 win at their home stadium. Jeff Rutledge was in at quarterback in place of Ripien.
He balled out 363.
Buddy Ryan was the head coach of the Eagles at the time, and their iconic gang green defense was just beginning its dominance in the early 90s. They didn't hit their finest form until the 1991 and 92 seasons, but the Monday night game against the Redskins offered a preview of what was to come. Led by Reggie White, the Philadelphia Eagles would quickly get to work in beating up their unwelcome visitors. Kick returner Walter Stanley tried to leap out of the way of numerous incoming tacklers, only to get his legs caught up, and he was twisted awkwardly on his way down. He was ruled out with a knee sprain, and that would be the first of several injury woes for the Redskins on that nightmare evening. Stanley was taken into the locker room on the back of a cart that would be required on several more occasions throughout the game. Cornerback William Frizzle put the Eagles on the board first with a pick six, picking off an errant throw after a low hit on the quarterback, resulting in a pick six. The Philly fans were deafening, and things were quickly getting uncomfortable for Joe Gibbs' team. Rutledge was starting to take a pounding. Eagles outside linebacker Jesse Small got a clean lick on him from the blind side, putting his full force through the back of the
flying up in
Redskins
there,
quarterback and sending him ricocheting into traffic on the opposite side. Reggie White then buried him near his own goal line while steaming through untouched, and it was almost impossible for the Redskins to move the football under pressure. It wasn't just the defense laying hits either. Linebacker Greg Minuski was left in a heap and had to be lifted off the field with a knee sprain following an intense collision with the Eagles' run game, and he too was eventually carted into the locker room.
My gosh.
Was sending
how many people got carted off this game? Because I didn't count.
Again,
I just know it was a
return,
lot.
The offensive line failed to pick up on a safety blitz from Wes Hopkins.
Damn!
He flew through the line. The offensive line failed to pick up on a safety blitz from Wes
Oh
Hopkins.
my gosh.
And crushed Rutter.
Okay,
The ball flew
48.
out of his hands, only to be scooped up by Clyde Simmons for the second defensive score, giving the Eagles a 21-7 lead. At this point, Jeff Rutledge was done. He was beaten up, battered, bloodied, and bruised. And the Redskins had to turn to their reserve quarterback, Stan Humphries, who would suffer a similar fate. Not long after coming into the game, Humphries crumbled under yet more Eagles pressure. One of just few pass attempts the team managed to get off that day was batted in the air and collected by Reggie White, who rumbled deep into Redskins territory before being pulled down. Unbelievably, Humphries got wiped out of the game, suffering a knee injury that ended his night. He had tried to scramble forward into a
Damn, nigga, like, I ain't gonna lie, it gets to a point, bro. This shit gotta be on purpose.
Writhing in pain, the cart was over, and all they had left at quarterback was rookie running back Brian Mitchell.
Shit, I know them niggas that are on them carts tired as hell of going on the field, bro. They sick of these niggas.
Treatment on the field for a matter of minutes. He was eventually rolled off the field on a stretcher. Of all the injuries the Redskins dealt with that night, Howard's might have been the scariest. He was tripped by an ankle tackle, and Eagles linebacker Britt Hager had launched and delivered a helmet-to-helmet hit, sending Howard to the turf. Joe Gibbs later said of the game, "We not only lost the game, but we got a lot of people hurt. I don't think I've ever been involved in a game where so many players went down. It seemed like every play." The Redskins lost 6 players to catastrophic injuries.
6 players.
Including 2 quarterbacks. It was a wildly intimidating atmosphere, with both the Eagles crowd and the team in their very finest form. And the Redskins paid the price. The game got its name from safety William Frizzle, who was heard turning to the Washington sideline and jeering, "You need any more body bags?" Defensive tackle for the Eagles Mike Golick would state, "When we're playing like that, we're scary. You could see it in their eyes, the way we were dominating them." It was as good of a statement from Buddy Ryan and his defense as you will ever see, and they only built further upon that momentum in the 2 seasons that followed.
Wow. Alright, what we got next? Oh, I remember this.
Become a much safer place in many ways. But occasionally,
damn,
a terrifying incident takes place and leaves those who love the sport a heavy reminder of the potential dangers lurking on any given play. Many great players have suffered injuries that ended their careers over the years, with the likes of Bo Jackson, Gale Sayers, Steve Young.
Bro, Bo Jackson's the biggest what if ever, bro.
Dealing with the dangers of the game of football. Each was dealt a blow that would close the doors on their careers for good.
I ain't gonna lie, this has got to be the nastiest injury ever, bro. What happened to Joe Theismann? Real shit.
The doors on their careers for
I don't think LT has seen the footage yet either.
Damar Hamlin faced on that cold, eerie night on January 2nd.
Yeah, this was so sad, bro.
Well, you can see that the ambulance.
Everybody was talking about that shit at school the next day.
Working on Damar Hamlin.
There wasn't a game in the 2022.
That whole shit ruined my mood. I ain't gonna lie.
The Buffalo Bills matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 17. The 2 AFC sides were both tilted as Super Bowl contenders, with Josh Allen's Bills going into the game with a 12-2
that shit threw my
record,
whole
and
vibe
Joe
off.
Burrow and the Bengals standing at 11-4, hosting the Bills with serious playoff implications on both sides. This game had all the markings of an all-time classic. The Bengals hosted and held a 7-3 lead midway through the first quarter before one of the
and like, bro, and for all the niggas that were sending T. Higgins death threats, bro, fuck you. Like, bro, how was that his fault that happened, bro? That shit just so, like, you know what I'm saying? It's so unnecessary, gang. Like, bro, it's an unfortunate thing that happened. It's not T. Higgins' fault, bro. He just out there playing football.
It quickly became meaningless once Hamlin was on the ground.
Another Bills player is down.
Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins had caught a ball on the left side and collided with Bills safety Damar Hamlin. And on what seemed like a typical bang-bang play that you'd see 25 times a night during an NFL game. However, this one was different. As Damar Hamlin stood up from the tackle, he froze and fell flat on his back on the field, prompting his teammates and those around him to quickly beckon for help.
Another Bills player is down. Tell exactly who that is. Maybe Hamlin.
The stadium fell silent. The hour that followed was about to be the most frightening hour in NFL history. The broadcast cut away from the game, with commentary team Joe Buck and Troy Aikman doing their best to cover what was clearly a very serious incident on the field.
Welcome back to Cincinnati, where medical personnel have been working on Bills safety Damar Hamlin for the last 9 minutes. Hamlin made a hit. He got up, took a couple of steps, and
the fuck going on with my internet, nigga?
then just fell to the ground.
The significance of the game evaporated, and fans were now watching their favorite players pacing the field, while a crowd formed around Damar Hamlin and the Bills' medical team. Josh Allen stumbled around the field with his hands over his mouth, seemingly in complete disbelief. Fans, players, coaches, and officials stood in silence, praying desperately for good news amidst waves of fear. What had happened was a very rare incident. Damar Hamlin had suffered a blow to the chest from T. Higgins' shoulder. This happens all the time, but in Hamlin's case, he'd suffered a rare case of commotio cordis, which is caused when cardiac rhythm is disrupted by a blow to the chest during a very specific 40 millisecond span in the heart's
That is
ventricle
crazy,
cycle.
bro.
The scariest part is that it's 97% fatal unless treatment is correctly administered.
Yeah, like, and shout out to the Bengals staff too for that, for helping him out.
Field and immediately began to give Hamlin CPR before paramedics swiftly joined them by Hamlin's side. The CPR was followed by the use of a defibrillator attempting to restart Hamlin's heart, all of which was happening live during an NFL broadcast on Monday Night Football.
Okay, Lisa, we're going to take a break. They have been administering CPR through these past 2 breaks that we've taken. And as Lisa said, Damar Hamlin has been down for over 9 minutes now.
This could have went way worse, bro.
In fear that they might have to announce that a player had lost his life during an NFL game. When the broadcast cut back to the studio, Adam Schefter and Booger McFarland were stumbling for words, praying desperately for a glimmer of good news from down on the field. Hamlin's treatment on the field lasted for more than 9 minutes, as first responders tried to keep blood flowing through his body at whatever cost. Hamlin was then stretchered into an ambulance that had driven out onto the field and transported to the University.
And Skip Bayless said some stupid shit, bro.
As Hamlin left the stadium in an ambulance, he left behind 2 teams, coaching staff, and an entire crowd of fans emotionally devastated by what they've just witnessed.
And Damar Hamlin was given oxygen as he was being loaded in the ambulance.
Them frantically administering CPR to this 24-year-old safety.
Bills players were consoling each other, still dressed for a football game that now seemed a trivial afterthought, considering the nightmare that they just endured. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow stood together, helpless, and many believed the game should be called off. The broadcast went on for an hour with no news on Hamlin's condition. The fear that Hamlin might die was ever present. Eventually, after a discussion between Bengals coach Zach Taylor and Bills coach Sean McDermott, the game was called off, with McDermott believing the most important thing at that moment was to get to the hospital to be with his player. Those watching went from enjoying a Monday night thriller to fearing for a man's life.
Man, I'm so glad he survived that, bro. Because that could have been catastrophic, like real shit.
After a devastating injury during Monday Night Football, and now players, coaches, and millions across the world praying for a miraculous recovery for Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin.
Tonight, here to the horror during Monday Night Football. Of course, millions watching, and tonight doctors say the next 48 hours will be crucial for Buffalo Bills star Damar Hamlin.
The Bills adding overnight that Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest and his heartbeat was restored on the field.
But it's a reminder of just how violent professional football really is.
It is, bro.
And all that's on the line.
In my opinion, the most dangerous game. I know a lot of people probably say like maybe like hockey or soccer even. It's definitely football, bro. Real shit.
The side of football that no one ever wants to see or never wants to admit exists.
The reality of the NFL and its risks were never more profound. Fans refreshed their social media feeds relentlessly as they prayed for a positive update. He spent a week in the hospital where he was initially in critical condition following the incident. By January 5th, he was awake and able to use all his extremities and communicate with the doctors using a pen and paper.
Yeah, W doctors, man. Everybody involved that helped save his life, bro. W, shout out to you. Like real shit.
A week after the injury, he was
God gonna definitely bless them for sure.
It was announced that he would make a full recovery. His case was miraculous and fortunately ended with the best possible outcome. Despite despite what could have been a devastating tragedy, support poured out for Hamlin from NFL players, teams, and fans. The Bills would dedicate their Week 18 win over the New England Patriots to their injured teammate. After the incident, Damar Hamlin's GoFundMe page quickly made its rounds on the internet, and by the time he was discharged from the hospital,
yeah, I even donated too.
$9 million. He had set up the incentive to raise money for local toy drives and supporting school children, and poured the millions raised from his injury into his charity later in the year. Damar Hamlin has since presented the Pat Tillman Award to the members of the Bills medical staff, who responded immediately.
Please welcome this year's recipient of the Pat Tillman Award for Service, the training staff of the Buffalo Bills,
ultimately saving his life. In a touching moment on stage at the ESPYs, Hamlin thanked each of them for their part of the rescue, putting a tidy bow on what could have been a fatal evening in Cincinnati. The NFL's darkest games, broadcasted live to millions.
Man,
showcasing the dark reality of
I ain't gonna lie, he probably could have put this video last though, like the last clip. Damn, I don't want to end it on like a super sad note. Oh shit. But this is a good ass video though. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I'm to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they chow me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.